I mean, I think that people rely often too heavily on psychological motivators, and we overlook this entrainment phenomenon, the ability for our body to entrain to certain time.
Welcome back to Biohacking Insights. Recently, Dr. Andrew Huberman discussed the dangers of relying too much on stimulants. What can we do instead that a neuroscientist would approve? Let's see.
For instance, it's a terrible thing, but I like to get up, hydrate, caffeinate, slowly do some mental work, and then my ideal training time, if I ever retire, I don't know that I ever will, but would be to train mid-morning, like 10:30.
Huberman argues that we often rely too heavily on quick fixes for motivation, overlooking the power of routine. He uses his own example. He prefers to hydrate, gradually increase alertness with caffeine, and do some mental tasks before hitting the gym in the mid-morning. However, life isn't always ideal, so he squeezes in exercise within an hour after waking, but only after a dose of caffeine. This reliance on caffeine highlights a broader point. We often turn to stimulants like caffeine to overcome a lack of motivation. Caffeine disrupts the sleepiness signal, adenosine, and also increases dopamine receptors, making us more sensitive to dopamine's motivational effects. Taking this a step further, many people use stronger stimulants like Adderall or modafinil. These medications act on similar pathways as caffeine, releasing dopamine and epinephrine. While they can be helpful for specific clinical issues, Huberman emphasizes that these are essentially amphetamines, which means stimulant drugs. But then comes nicotine.
Just stating the reality. But what do people do? They take stimulants. What did I do right before this podcast? I'll come clean. I don't hide these things. I've been experimenting lately with 2 milligrams of nicotine, in the form of gum. I don't smoke, vape, dip, or snuff. Those are all bad, carcinogenic, etc. I know people say vaping's not as bad as smoking. Vaping's bad, okay?
He has tried experimenting with nicotine gum himself, saying he doesn't endorse smoking or other harmful nicotine delivery methods. Now, nicotine, like caffeine, provides a focus boost by interacting with the acetylcholine system and dopamine pathways. However, Huberman recognizes its addictive nature and limits himself to a minimal use, considering quitting altogether. Because relying on stimulants like nicotine or even energy drinks can provide a quick boost of motivation by spiking dopamine levels in the brain. However, this easy fix can backfire. Over time, you might need more and more of these substances to feel motivated, leaving you less driven without them. It's a cycle of easy highs followed by potential dips in motivation. So there might be an appeal of stimulants for motivation, but he tells us about the importance of exploring alternative strategies. The question is, what can we do instead of relying on stimulants? What are some alternatives that Huberman approves?
A cold shower would be a great one because of that long. I'm just fascinated by this. I've never seen anything else, no drug, prescription or otherwise, no supplement, no workout that I'm aware of, but I haven't explored every single one, that creates that long arc of dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine release that 1 minute of being uncomfortably cold can create.
Huberman says cold showers are the best alternative. But why cold exposure stands out for boosting dopamine levels? Unlike other methods that provide a quick dopamine spike, cold exposure triggers a long-lasting release. And there's something truly fascinating about it. In his experience, no drug, supplement, workout, or anything else he has encountered creates such a long arc of dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine release in just 1 minute of uncomfortable coldness. He clarifies that studies using warmer temperatures and longer durations observed similar effects. He believes shorter, colder exposures likely produce a comparable experience. He says that even 20 seconds in very cold but safe water can trigger that quickening breath. That's adrenaline. It's a powerful molecule. But what about dopamine? What's the minimum effect duration and temperature? According to him, temperature and duration aren't the only factors, because you're not just thinking about numbers or how intense is a conversation on a scale of 1 to 10. How long will it last? Stress doesn't work that way. We face stressors unexpectedly or with some warning. So he approaches the cold plunge by considering his mental resistance. Usually, he's not excited to get in, but he looks forward to how he will feel afterwards. He describes his cold shower routine as a series of walls to overcome. The first wall is the initial discomfort of getting in. He lowers himself to his neck, puts his hands in, and focuses on overcoming the urge to rush out. He pays attention to his breathing and try not to dwell on the discomfort, and eventually, the first urge to escape hits. That's the second wall. Then he forces himself over it, assuming the water isn't dangerously cold. Then he starts counting walls, focusing on how much time passes between those overwhelming urges to get out. Huberman emphasizes the importance of individual response. There's no one-size-fits-all approach. The goal is to learn how to navigate the stress response effectively. The key takeaway is how you react to and move through the stress, Huberman concludes. According to him, cold exposure can be a valuable tool, but it's more about learning to manage stress than simply enduring discomfort. Which is why when he gets out of the cold plunge, he feels a significant shift. There's relief, but also a long-lasting feeling that he associates with accomplishment. And that's more valuable than just waiting for the discomfort to end. He also says there's great value in paying attention to how you encounter stress, navigate it, and emerge on the other side when it comes to stimulants. Because naturally, you would rely on stimulants to feel less stressed. So cold showers are fantastic, but the initial discomfort is part of what makes them tough. A cold plunge where you're fully submerged, ideally neck deep, is a different story. Which is why cold exposure might not be for everyone, but it's a strategy worth considering.
Yeah, well, cold shower is always great, and it's not just zero cost. It'll save you on your heating bill. Cold shower sucks because it's almost like the fact that part of you can be out of the cold makes it worse.
So what can be some really effective alternatives? He first gets into other strategies, acknowledging sleep as a crucial factor. Sleep is a no-brainer according to Huberman. When people experience a drop in baseline dopamine, prioritizing quality sleep is essential. He then adds the next alternative to the list, which is high-intensity interval training, HIIT. HIIT is a remarkable tool. It's brief yet triggers the release of various neurochemicals that enhance alertness. Because it's short, you're less likely to experience fatigue that hinders cognitive function. There's a certain impact of exercise timing on focus. Huberman says finding focus can be tricky. He notices a tough leg workout in the mid-morning zaps his focus later in the day. He thinks exercising earlier might be the key to sustained energy. Even though science isn't totally clear on this yet, Huberman emphasizes moderation with exercise. He trains hard, but not to the point of exhaustion. 3 sessions a week, lasting around 45 minutes each, seems to work for him. He prioritizes a proper warm-up too. Huberman gets that some people are busy and can't dedicate hours to exercise. So he suggests most workouts, 80 to 85%, should be at a moderate intensity. You can push yourself harder, 90% intensity, in some workouts, maybe 10% of the time. But going all out shouldn't be a regular thing. In fact, Huberman only does that a few times a year. The key, Huberman says, is to avoid injury. Getting hurt sidelines you from everything. He also believes leaving some energy in reserve lets you carry the positive effects of exercise into other parts of your life. Huberman even has a personal trick to motivate himself. He keeps a note on his laptop that says doing something hard always makes him feel better. He thinks it's like the positive feeling you get after a cold plunge, and it might be because it fires up parts of the brain that make you feel motivated in general instead of relying on other stimulants. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss any of our transformative content. Our next video gets deep into the science behind why some toothpastes might actually be harming your teeth. Don't miss out.